Streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. It is Thursday night. We have come to the end of the line on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour, brought to you by South Carolina Watermelons for 2022. But you know what? It was well worth the wait. Beautiful little ride from over at Clemson to Due West, through Greenwood, through Anderson, through Honey Path, and many other stops in between. But we made our way to Due West, which if you've never been here, well, you got to come here to experience Due West off of South Carolina 185 with the intersection of South Carolina 184. They've made it easy. The two roads that run by here are 184 and 185, and also South Carolina 20, not Interstate 20. No, there's no Interstate, South Carolina 20, but pretty little town built around the college. As I look around, the men's basketball team, we're in the gymnasium. We're in the Hall of Fame area of the gymnasium, and they've got the men's basketball team working out. The football team was practicing this afternoon. The baseball team was in the weight room, and they're practicing this afternoon. So it's a busy time around here athletically for the Flying Fleet of Erskine, which opens its season on Saturday over at Greenwood High School, which is their home field, Babb Stadium, against the team from the University of Fort Lauderdale. We'll have coach and players with us a little bit after the top of the hour. And want to remind you that if you are trying to find us over the airwaves in this first hour, you're not able to. Of course, you can always get us on our stream at SportsTalkSC.com and our Twitter feed at SportsTalkSC, and, of course, on YouTube and at Facebook. We were at Clemson today for Dabo Swinney's regular season press conference number 1. Previewing Georgia Tech. Now, for Clemson, this is a Tuesday. For the rest of the world, it's a Thursday. But for Clemson, it's a Tuesday, and it's like Tuesday press conference day for Dabo Swinney. And basically, except for Xavier Thomas and Adam Randall, everybody's healthy. Trey Williams is cleared and ready to go. He'll be able to play against Georgia Tech on Monday night, and he's optimistic about this team. He feels good about this team, loves their work ethic, loves their buy-in to what they're doing. There's hunger there from, for them, a disappointing season last year, even though they won 10 games, a disappointing season last year for them. So we'll hear from him coming up right after the first break. We're on a very tight schedule tonight to try to get everything in for you. We've got a lot of guests lined up for you, including Will and the Thrill. They make their return for this season tonight at 7:30. Can't wait to hear what they've had bottled up inside to share with us tonight. But to kick things off, and you know, Chris and Pat, low-hanging fruit. I hate to be the guy that goes up and grabs the low-hanging fruit, but my goodness, did I not tell you earlier in the week when South Carolina announced the General as the name of their new live mascot that there would be complaints? Did I not cite for you various reasons why there would be complaints? Apparently, and I was really kind of just making fun, but apparently there must have been some complaints or something going on, because this afternoon the administration, USC, announced that they're going back to the original name, Sir Big Spur, after somehow mollifying the previous owners of the bird and the current owners of the bird. They reached some kind of agreement, I think, related to the hair on the bird. Whether or not to cut it or not, and I think they've reached an agreement there not to. And I don't know if anything else went into this. Maybe there was some money. I don't know. I'm not saying there was. I'm just thinking out loud. They make a financial agreement with the folks, whatever the case may be. It'll be Sir Big Spur, and this is so, shall we say, Gamecockish for over the years at South Carolina. It's unbelievable.
I just am curious, Phil, and you talked about potentially money. How did they figure out and come to a solution here? Because the two families were on clearly opposite sides of whether or not a rooster can be a gamecock if the comb is still attached to that chicken's body.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you changed. One side said no, a gamecock does not have a comb, a rooster does. I don't know how you fix that and solve that problem. So I'd also find it somewhat curious about the timing, because I don't know if you saw this, but our friends over at Fitz News wrote a story today about this and referenced that there was some pressure being put on, I don't know, potentially inside the university, with regards to with Thomas Sumter's background, going back to his days back in the 70s
What
and the
did I
slave
tell
trade
you? What
and the like. Yep.
did I not tell you? Did
And
I
I
not
just find
say
it
that there would be some people who would have a problem with the name the General? Gosh, it's hard being right all the time. There's a lot of pressure.
And I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on with this, because I think the timing is just really, really curious.
Yeah.
Not that it's 48 hours from kickoff, but the same day that Fitz News has that story, we see the name change. And I just find this fascinating, because I don't know. It's like trying to get a Clemson fan to agree that Shane Beamer's a really, really good coach, and a Gamecock fan to agree that Dabo Swinney is the greatest coach of all time. They're never going to come together on those two arguments. So I don't know how the two families came together without the university doing something, and maybe money is involved. But I think the timing with regards to that report today really, really has stoked my eye for sure.
Yeah. And guys, one thing just to add to what you are saying, let's not forget when these polls first started really gaining traction, I guess it was beginning of the week or late last week, it was all over national attention. It was on ESPN. It was on Fox Sports. And I think a lot of people started thinking, maybe there's some marketability behind the name of a mascot, and maybe Sir Big Spur wouldn't be so bad to get out there. So now again, with Corn, not saying that's what happened, but if I'm the family that had the trademark of that name, and I'm seeing just how viral that whole story, the whole new name saga went, there's some dollars to be made. Just saying.
Well, if there was money to be made, Pat, why not Dr. Pecker? The name we came up with. I mean, that would have been the perfect marketing name.
They should have listened to us to begin with, and this would have all been solved and resolved with no problem. Dr. Pecker was a great name. That's Pat. I give that to Pat because he came up with it, or either he stole it from somebody else. I don't know if he was original with it. But the point of the whole thing is, when is South Carolina going to learn that you make such a big deal over the most meaningless stuff? You put out a statement. You put out a university athletic department release earlier this week. We now have a new name for our bird. It's the General, and it represents the great General Thomas Sumter and all the great things he did for South Carolina. It's now the General. And now, 2 days later, forget everything we said 2 days ago. It's Sir Big Spur. Somehow the two families, the Hatfields and McCoys, came together, maybe through the help of a few Benjamin Franklins. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Did a few Benjamin Franklins come into play here? But, I mean, I was kind of half joking earlier in the week when I said some people, somebody, somewhere is going to have a problem with the name the General. Yep. And apparently that came to pass. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, because we've got to stay on clock tonight, fellas. We got to stay on clock. So Dabo Swinney coming up after the break. But one thing Dabo Swinney talked about today again was NIL. He was pressed on that again by a reporter, and he really emphasized his belief in NIL and that they're doing it the right way, and that it is not professionalism. And he's got the best NIL person in the country to handle NIL opportunities for the players at Clemson. And they are adding on to their building. They're putting a brand building in, and they've done all these other things. And NIL is something that he is okay with. He's endorsed it. He's put his arms around it. He's tired of people saying he doesn't like it, that he's opposed to it, that he's against it. And he made that clear in his comments in answering a question from a reporter, again, that he's tired of the media writing that he doesn't accept NIL and doesn't believe that players should receive NIL compensation. So he was trying to make that clear again today. And the one thing else he made clear was that their NIL involvement will be through charitable work and giving back to the community and things like that. And he also said NIL would not be a focus or the focus, not a focus or the focus of his program, which I bring this up, which is sort of, I'm not saying it's the focus at South Carolina, but they're certainly making a big deal out of this deal they made with this group in Greenville, and they're paying over $2 million. South Carolina is sort of making NIL a focus, and their media, the South Carolina media, they're certainly beating the drum for South Carolina that this is a game changer for them in recruiting that's going to lead to all kind of major recruits coming to South Carolina. But I've got a message for them. If you don't win games, you're not going to get the players. That's the bottom line. You can NIL yourself all day long, and you can have whatever representation you want all day long, and you can make all these promises of come to South Carolina. We're going to get you $600,000 deals with Mercedes and Coca-Cola and you name it. But if you're 7-5, maybe 8-4, that's not going to be good enough because the ballers want to play for championships. I'm talking about the real ballers. They want to play for championships. And South Carolina needs to go out and win football games first before they start touting everything else that they're doing as a game changer, as I see it, in my opinion.
The great chicken versus the egg argument, isn't it? Do you get the? Do you start winning and then start being able to reel in the players?
Have you got to bring a chicken into everything?
Or on the flip side, do you lure the players in so you can start winning championships? And this is a hill that Dabo Swinney is going to die on. And that albatross comment, and he can try and run and hide from it all he wants to, but Dabo Swinney made the comment that there is too much entitlement in the world. And when we start paying players, I'll find something else to do. No one has ever forgotten that. And I'll give Dabo some advice. He's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. I'm not going to try and tell him X's and O's, but I know about the media. The easiest thing he could do is step up to the microphone and say, you know what, I made a comment a couple of years ago. I've thought more about NIL. I have embraced it. My comments were maybe a little foolhardy. I was out in front of my skis. I've changed my whole thinking on name, image, and likeness. I love it. We're going to utilize it here at Clemson. It is going to be a part of our program, and let's move forward. And once he says that, everybody's going to be, all right, he needs to humble himself and not try and run away from a comment that he made that no one will ever forget.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at our timeline today, and I realize the majority of it are Gamecock fans, but they keep bringing this up. When he made this comment 3-4 years ago, when name, image, and likeness wasn't what any of us thought it would be. He can't be held accountable for thinking something that has exploded on the college scene happened, now looking back 3 or 4 years ago. If he would just come out and say, look, I made a comment that, over time it's changed. Everybody's got a right to change their mind. And that would be the end of this. And he wouldn't have to keep answering questions about this year in and year out. But he's bound and determined to die on that hill. That he is for NIL without going back and correcting what he said a few years ago.
All right, we got to hit the break, and when we come back, we'll hear from Dabo Swinney as he talks about the game with Georgia Tech, and he talks about his team, not about the NIL stuff. But we do have a segment of him talking about the NIL stuff, but that's like 9 minutes long, too. Everything with that. He went 55 minutes today, all right? So everything when he talks is long. But we'll bring you the part about his team getting ready for Georgia Tech on Monday night. That's coming up next here on Sports Talk.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, hunting is very popular across the state of South Carolina. Major Downer, what things should our hunters be thinking about before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. Whether it's turkey season or deer season, hunters always need to be aware of their target. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
It all builds up to this at Darlington Raceway.
If you're going to kick off the playoffs,
Stop, guys.
why not do it big?
Green flag is up.
Like Labor Day weekend big.
Get in your car here.
That's how you make a move.
Like Southern 500 big. The only thing bigger than the action would be the experience of seeing it live. And that
I got into the wall.
might just be too tough to take.
Bring it home, bring it home.
NASCAR Playoffs weekend at Darlington Raceway, September 3rd through the 4th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
All right, let's get right to Dabo Swinney from earlier this morning as he met with the media over at Clemson to preview the Tigers opener Monday night against Georgia Tech.
This is what it's all about. I mean, we've been going since January, so this is just kind of the next step for us in our journey of 2022, and it's finally here, and we're ready to kick it off. I cannot wait to see us play. I want to see us compete against somebody else. We've competed, we had 3 weeks of camp. That's the longest camp we've had in quite a while, several years now. Our camp has been a couple weeks, but school starting a week later gave us an extra week of camp when you're not on the 20-hour clock and all that stuff. So it was a really good camp, but a lot of competition on our practice field. And I love how the guys showed up every single day and brought it. We got a committed group. We've got a team that's really fun to work with, and I think that we got excellent leadership. But probably more than anything, I just like the attitude of this team. I like their attitude. I like their work ethic, and I think there's a lot of character in this group. So, and those are intangibles that win. And I think this team has a lot of great intangibles to go along with the measurables that you need to be successful at this level too. So again, been a good camp. We're a healthy team. Man, that's been a blessing for us. And, we're in a much better spot than we were this time last year. And hopefully that can be a trend for us this year. Obviously we got 2 guys that are, 2 deep guys for us and Adam Randall and Xavier Thomas that are out for this game. But both are trending in a really good direction. Adam is full speed. He's working on the scout team every day this week and next week, and really just taking every rep. Because that's kind of the last little check for him. And Xavier's doing great. So, we're in a good spot there, and guys are ready to get to Atlanta and play. For us, all the openers are hard always. I think for everyone, the opener is typically the toughest game to prepare for, just because you got so much time. You got no tape. You look at last year's tape, but it's new coaches galore. New coordinators. Everybody's got their own thing, and then you've had forever to get ready, and you don't have any video evidence kind of confirming what you think they may do. So you have to prepare for a lot in these type of games, and then you throw in the fact that, hey, this is a conference game. This is league play. And it's on the road. So this is always a hard game to get ready for, but especially challenging this year because Georgia Tech's they got a bunch of new faces. A bunch of new faces across the board on the coaching staff and with their personnel on the field. So there's a lot of unknowns as we go into it. So it's really about us knowing what we need to do and knowing who we are and our plan and how to apply what we do to whatever we see. And then making the right adjustments as we get into the flow of the game. Again, excited about getting down there. We've never played in Mercedes-Benz. I think I've been there one time. I went to a Falcons game. A beautiful arena, and excited to experience that. So, but again, for us, conference play right out of the gate, our focus is to really just achieve our first goal, and that's win the opener. And, you know, that may seem like a simple goal, but if you look at how that applies to the championships at Clemson, you know, there's been 26 conference championships at Clemson, you know, in all the leagues we've been in historically, and Clemson is 23-2-1. Those championship teams are 23-2-1 and winning the opener. So it's a pretty significant game when it comes to you know, a championship team. And for us, I'm seven, and our 7 ACC championship teams, we won the opener. Every single one of those teams. Our 6 playoff teams, they all won the opener. All right. We didn't win the league last year, and we didn't win the opener. And so, you know, our goal was simply to try to find a way to achieve the first goal, and then we go from there. So, again, excited to see us play, see where we are, how we can improve, and go from there. But also had a real great opportunity yesterday to speak to the children's healthcare hospital there in Georgia, and you know, got a chance to visit with some of the patients. But I had a sweet little girl named Hannah Evans, and she's 13, and so I told her I'd give her a shout out today. So Hannah, there's your shout out. I enjoyed visiting with you. They had me on a robot, and I was roaming around the hospital. I could drive it with my keyboard. It was pretty cool. So really good experience, and something that was, you know, made possible by Chick-fil-A and the kickoff thing that they got going on. So a lot of fun yesterday. With that, we'll take your questions.
Coach, it was a weird game against Tech last year, the lightning delay, and turned into a real dogfight. I'm sure your guys would have a lot of excitement going into this game regardless, but I imagine the fact that it was so close last year gives your guys a lot of respect for Tech.
Man, heck yeah. I mean, we got respect for anybody that we play, and especially our conference. You know, I mean, you got to show up ready every single week. We were fortunate to find a way to win the game last year, and you know, we know that we got to do some things better. And you know, we had some opportunities that we didn't capitalize on. And but man, I thought they played a hard fought game just like we did. And again, we were at home and found a way to win. And now we got to go on the road and find a way to do the same thing. But you know, they'll be as excited as we are, and both of us are undefeated, and one of us is going to come out with a loss. So you know, being excited don't get it done. You know, we got to go execute and earn it on the field.
I know this is a ridiculously high bar, and like you said, you have to go earn it on the field. But as far as going into a season, how does this defensive line depth that you have compare with the other good ones that you've had before?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, again, you know, they haven't done anything or earned anything, but on paper, it reminds me of our 14 defensive, you know, line. And everybody talks about 18, and that was a great group, but really very young behind. We got lucky. You got to have some luck, you know, to win a national championship. There's so much that's got to go into that, and you got to get a little luck along the way. And we were very, very fortunate that Christian and Dexter and Cleveland and Austin played every game. You know, and we had Albert. You know, we kind of had 5 guys, and if you really look at the roster, we were really young and very inexperienced and very unproven behind those guys. And those guys had to play a lot of snaps. You know, we had a very young Justin Foster that was moving from linebacker. We had Logan Rudolph. Xavier Thomas was a true freshman. You know, so just and some other young guys in there, and so we were very fortunate. But that's, you know, that's what it takes to have a season like that. Our 14 team, just the opposite. And they had some misfortune. If you go back and look at that team, our 14 team was, I mean, heck, all them guys are, you know, you look at that D tackle group, Sean Williams, he's on year 8 with the Broncos, you know, Carlos Watkins, DJ Reader, Grady Jarrett. I mean, you know, I think Josh Watson was in that group as well. I think Brandon Thompson was gone, but I mean, it was And Dan Brooks was hysterical, because Dan would never, the only guy I knew was going to start was Grady.
Okay. Finding a place to cut Dabo is tough, but a good job. Campbell leading Citadel early in their game 7-3. Back in a moment.
Some clouds roll this evening, up to 72 as our low. Tomorrow, a few more clouds, but a nice day. A high of 89, not too much humidity. There's a 20% chance we get an afternoon downpour. For Saturday, afternoon showers are likely, hopefully clearing out by Carolina game time. A kickoff temp in the upper 70s. I'm Kevin Cohen with on-point local weather.
Football is back. And this year, the Citadel is trying to be top dog.
Get in here. I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. You can't roll with the big dogs. Stay on the ball.
Touchdown, Bulldogs. Fire those cannons. The Bulldogs are back.
The Citadel Bulldogs, all season long on 100.7 The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a panel of U.S. health advisors voted to recommend Pfizer's updated COVID-19 boosters that target the newest Omicron strains for people 12 and older. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is expected to adopt the recommendation, the last step before shots can begin. The panel also voted to recommend Moderna's version of the booster update to be used in adults only. A UN inspection team entered Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant Thursday on a mission to safeguard it against catastrophe, reaching the site amid fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces that prompted the shutdown of one reactor and underscored the urgency of the task. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was up by 145 points. The Nasdaq dropped 31, the S&P 500 advancing 12, oil down to 86.61 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. Family owned, they've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on shooterschoicesc.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, shooterschoicesc.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Gas prices, grocery prices, inflation has hit us all, and it's caused the Fed to raise interest rates. As a result, after historically low mortgage rates for what seemed like forever, interest rates for a mortgage have jumped in recent months. Fran Halloran here. Let me make something clear to you. Mortgage rates are rising. They may continue to rise as the Fed tries to get a grip on inflation. What hasn't changed is the incredible customer service you'll get from Greg McCoy and Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Greg can't control interest rates. He can, however, control fees. With rates on the rise, now more than ever, you need to know you're getting the very best deal. Greg will make sure of that. He's more than just a mortgage guy. Greg McCoy is your trusted advisor. You might be surprised to learn how much Simplified Mortgage and Greg McCoy can do to help you with your biggest financial investment. Not sure? Have questions? Give Greg a call at Simplified Mortgage, 803-722-6044, or find him online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com. Greg McCoy, NMLS 119871.
We are back on Sports Talk on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. We are at Erskine College in Due West. We'll have Coach Boyd and a couple of players from the Flying Fleet with us. They play at home Saturday against Fort Lauderdale. In just a few moments, Mike Morgan will join us. Morgan on the move as he gets ready to call the Kentucky game on ESPN on Saturday. We'll get his thoughts about things happening around college football. Let's update a couple of things as well. Shane Beamer is having his call-in show as we speak, and nothing really new from that as far as I can tell. He confirmed that Corey Rucker is out for this week, and we kind of expected that based on what he had been saying about the injury to Rucker, so no great surprise there. And I really haven't seen anything else. Have you seen anything else, Chris, coming out of Beamer's comments tonight?
Outside of that, and he made the comment that he made in the press conference earlier this week about Saturday's the place to be if you're a top-flight recruit. Because you remember he pointed out that all the schools that USC recruits against aren't playing on Saturday night. So he felt like this was an opportunity. And he reiterated that evidently during his radio show. But I think the only newsy thing was the one you just hit on, that Corey Rucker is not available Saturday.
Yeah, and Kai Kroger is expected to play. Alex Herrera could punt if necessary. And the only other position to be determined appears to be a punter. Holder. And punter William Joyce was the holder for portions of fall camp. Christian Beal-Smith continues to work back from his injury. He is questionable for Saturday, which means he's out. That's Beamer language. Questionable means out. Every time he says questionable, the guy's not played. So I would imagine that he will not be playing. So there you go. That's some of the stuff coming from Shane Beamer tonight from his call-in show. A few other notes for you. And let's see here. A few other notes that I want to pass along to you that I've seen tonight. Former Gamecock pitcher Cody Morris called up by the Guardians. He's the 57th Gamecock to make the major leagues. Got to look at the Erskine baseball team in the weight room today. They look good. They got some tall pitchers. I think keep an eye out for them. They're in the same league with North Greenville, the defending national champions, Carolina's league. Carolina's conference. Tyler Eckstein's
harder professional. Excuse me a second. Harder new professional name to get used to. The Guardians, or whatever the Redskins are now.
The Commanders.
The Commanders. There we go. I should remember that since Cock Commander was one of the top trending topics of the week.
There we go again. You have to bring that up again, don't you? Can we move on? Tyler Eckstein has been promoted to Director of Basketball Ops, and Darren Angel has joined the Furman men's basketball staff as assistant to the head coach. Bob Ritchie announced that today. Coastal announced that all reserved and single-game tickets for the opener against Army sold out. No more tickets are available. That includes no space available on the sideline for the radio announcer, Chris. What are you going to do?
It'll be safer. I'll stand in the front row. No, actually, fortunately at Coastal, that's one of the few places that there's enough room on the sidelines. But, yeah, that's a huge story for CCU because they'll probably have, I'm guessing, the Appalachian State game, assuming both teams have the kind of years that we anticipate they would. That game will be a sellout on a Thursday night. So, yeah, they're going to have some good crowds down there in Conway this season, you would think.
Okay, and let's see. What else did I have for you here? Something else out of Coastal. Coastal had a busy day putting out some newsy-type stuff. They named their new Hall of Fame class. You might know some of these folks. I do. Andrew Beckwith, baseball. Keela Brown, track, women's track. Alex Cunningham, baseball. Doc Doyle, baseball. All these guys played on the national championship team, didn't they?
Except Doyle. I think Doc Doyle is a little bit older.
Okay.
But Beckwith and who else did you mention?
Cunningham.
Cunningham, yeah.
Yeah. Jason Flanagan, men's track. D'Angelo Henderson, football. Of course, he deserves it. Taylor Motter, baseball. And Lena Schaffner, women's golf. The Athletic ranked all 131 FBS programs 1 through 131. Clemson is 4. USC is 51. And Coastal is 55. So, what do you think about that? Two thoughts there. Are there really 50 teams better than USC? And is Coastal that close to the Gamecocks, only 4 spots apart, 51-55?
I think the answer to your second question may be closer than, I think those two programs are not that far off from one another. Now, are there 50 better programs nationwide than those two? I don't think so, Phil. Do you?
I don't think so. I was just going to look at the list here real quick to kind of see who they have ranked ahead of the Gamecocks that you might say, whoa, that doesn't sound right. So let's take a couple of a gander here and see who's ranked ahead of them. Some of those would include Appalachian State. They ranked 27th. Wake Forest, they ranked 26th.
Understandable.
Would you take those two if they were playing? Would you take those two as favorites over the Gamecocks? They've got SMU ranked ahead of them. They've got Boston College, a 6-win team, is right ahead of the Gamecocks at number 50. If they were playing, who would you take head to head?
I'd take
who'd
USC
be the favorite
in that game. Yeah, I would take South Carolina easy in that game.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Appalachian State, that's an interesting one. And SMU too. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Gamecocks are worse than them. But again, we're talking about a team that won 6 games during the regular season, won their bowl game last year.
Yeah.
How good are they? That's the problem. We just don't know. That's why it's so good to finally get to. We'll actually be able to sink our teeth into some, meat on Monday and Tuesday because all the teams will have played.
Yeah, we'll have an idea exactly what we're talking about. Let's see, a couple of other things that I wanted to mention here tonight. The talk of college football expansion, talking about going to 12 games. It could happen as early as 24. So you're talking about 2 more seasons under the current format, and then the expansion to 12 if they approve it tomorrow when that group meets. And you go to 12 is what they're talking about doing here, which means, of course, you're going to have many more at-large teams, which means your conference championships will be and your conference play will be somewhat watered down, or not somewhat, a lot watered down. And you could have teams with maybe 3-4 losses make the playoffs now. We're just watering down everything. Water, pouring it on top of the college football world, which, at one time it was the one place where in the regular season you actually had to earn your way into a postseason, undefeated, no more than 1 loss. If you had more than 1 loss in football a few years ago, you were staying home. You were staying
that's
home.
the way you should be. It should be hard, Phil, and I'll continue. If Dabo wants to continue to hammer away at NIL, I'll do the same here. I'm going to die on this hill. It should be difficult to win a national championship. That's why I hate the college basketball tournament, because there are way too many teams that don't realistically have a chance to play. It should be hard to be the best team in the country. And we're going to kill the best regular season in all of sports by continuing to expand the playoffs.
Yeah, that's where it's headed. And it's all driven by the television money. What happens when you have more playoff teams? What does that mean? More playoff games, and more money coming to the more money coming in to the coffers of those teams. And do they care? I mean, seriously, in today's world, do they care about anything they do about the traditions of college football? They give it lip service, but the ADs, the presidents, they truly don't care about what they did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Well, what was that number Pat threw out last night? The additional playoff games would bring in almost $500 million in revenue. They're not going to turn their noses up at that. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to update the poll question of the week, which is, of course, the South Carolina Clemson games. What do you think is going to happen? Cover, not cover? 412 votes now in. 51% say both will cover. And the USC is laying 13. Clemson is laying 21.5, 22. 25% say USC covers and the Tigers do not. 18% say the Tigers cover, USC doesn't, and 6.1% believe both will fail to cover. Listening to the two coaches, I feel a little better regarding Clemson. I still don't think they'll beat Tech by 22 points. I still don't think they'll do that. I don't know that their offense is going to be able to do that, and I can't believe I'm saying that about a Clemson offense, but that's where we are today with the Clemson offense. And now, and Shane Beamer's got me a little worried about Georgia State based on what he was saying about Georgia State, how physical they are, how fast they are, how they can run the ball, how they can sack the quarterback. It's got me kind of thinking, well, maybe the Gamecocks aren't going to beat them by more than 13 points. But I'm going to stick to my guns with what I've said before. I think Gamecocks cover. I think Clemson does not. I think both win. Obviously, the Gamecocks covering, they win. I think Clemson wins in Atlanta, but I think it might be like a 2-touchdown game, a 14-point game. I'd certainly, if I were a betting person, I would take Georgia Tech in the 22 points.
This is why if you bet on the opening game of college football, God bless you, because I have no idea what to expect. It really is. I mean, I have no idea what to expect. And you look across, and we were talking about this last night, look at some of the games in the SEC alone. Florida State LSU is a great example. Great tradition, both places. They were down. Florida State, are they coming back? Is LSU getting back to where they were a couple of years ago? Who knows? I mean, if you can predict that game, and that's why the folks in Vegas make a whole lot more money than we do, Phil, because they're not in business to lose money. But how they came up with a 3-point spread on that game in New Orleans is beyond me.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit the break, and we are scheduled to have Mike Morgan with us coming up after the break. And so we'll talk more with Mike about what he is seeing around the SEC and the ACC. As far as games tonight, we got teams in action. We told you about the Citadel playing at Campbell. We got South Carolina State at UCF. We've got Limestone playing tonight at Gardner-Webb, and North Greenville playing at Furman tonight. So we got 5 state teams in action tonight on this Thursday night. Hit the break. Be back with more in a moment.
Founders Federal Credit Union knows your life is busy and your money is important. We are proud to offer local personalized services and convenient online services like Founders Online and the Founders app. You'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax, win with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty of barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at ExperienceColumbiaSC.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
Hope, life, and the Great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
All right, Palmetto Pigskin Tour stop at Erskine. We'll have Coach Shap Boyd with us after the top of the hour, and 2 of his players, Carter Vest, defensive end from Wren, and Rashad Lucky from St. Joseph's. Looking forward to having those two guys with us. Mike Morgan joining us in just a moment as well. And Mike, of course, here on Sports Talk, he is brought to you by Gibson Insurance. Former USC players Bo Mobley, Andrew Eister, and former coach Stuart Lake wants you on their team for all your insurance needs. It's a cost-effective place and cost-effective solutions for now and the long term. That's what they offer. They're all licensed with every insurance company in South Carolina. So give Bo, Andrew, and Stu a call today. That number 803-605-0029, 803-605-0029 is that number. We welcome in Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move. I know you love this time of the year. Of course, you love the basketball season too. Well, and you love the baseball season too. I guess you love all seasons like we do. So you ready to rock and roll at Kentucky on Saturday, and as you get ready to open up your broadcast schedule, as you go into SEC, ACC, and around the country, what are your thoughts about what we're looking at this college football season, just from a general standpoint?
Well, it's boring at the top, right? I mean, it's the same usual suspects. It's Alabama, it's Ohio State, it's Georgia. In the past, it's been Oklahoma. We'll see where exactly they are with Brent Venables and a new administration there. But so the top is honestly, and of course Clemson. It seems to be poised for a bounce back year, and would be surprised, very surprised, if they didn't win the ACC and find their way to the playoff. So from that standpoint, it's okay. It's Groundhog Day. But I think there's a million good stories past that level. There's a number of good games this week that don't involve those programs. I think Utah-Florida is extremely intriguing. I think Arkansas-Cincinnati is extremely interesting. And then I'm telling you right now, there's going to be an FCS team that pulls off an upset, and there's going to be a Group 5 team that knocks off a Power 5 team. So, if you're one of those schools that has those kind of matchups, perhaps a Carolina against Georgia State, you just hope that it doesn't bite you. You hope that everything goes the way it should in week one, and those kind of upsets don't happen. I've had those kind of games where you go in as a 20-point favorite, and the team that has no business winning goes in and wins it. So I've seen it happen too many times to just assume that it's not going to happen because of what they say in Vegas. There's going to be upsets in week one. But I think overall, I mean, there's a lot of intriguing stories with new coaches, with the transfer portal, big-time players at new spots. So I think once you get past the predictable part of the sport, which is always at the top, it seems, we got a number of things to look forward to.
Yeah, and I put this question out to our Twitter followers and got no response, so I'll ask you. So
somebody taught you Twitter? Where'd that tutorial come from?
I watched it on YouTube. I was learning how to change my oil first, and then I saw a video on how to do Twitter. So of the SEC teams, everybody's playing outside the league. I guess LSU, Florida State might be the most intriguing. Which SEC team, in your humble opinion, is in the greatest danger of being upset this weekend, if you have one in mind?
I think Florida at home. I think Florida could lose to Utah. I think Utah is a really good team with a really good quarterback, and Florida is the unknown with a first-year head coach. I think it's an extremely dangerous game. I don't think LSU loses to Florida State. I think LSU is just better. I think I realize it's a low number, but they're playing in the Dome. It's a de facto home game for LSU, and I think they take care of business. I think most of the other SEC teams are in fairly good shape, but I think Utah, Florida. That's, to me, it would not surprise me at all if Utah won that game.
Mike Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk tonight. Looking forward to the start of the college football season. And Mike, utilizing your comments about a G5 team upsetting a Power 5 team and sticking with the SEC, Georgia State obviously is going to present a challenge to USC over the weekend. But is Cincinnati poised without Desmond Ridder to go into Arkansas and throw a scare into them?
Well, I think the one thing Luke Fickell has done extremely well, he's recruited well and he develops players well. So they have, there's just some programs right now. I mean, Utah is another one for that matter. They're comfortable in their own skin. They've developed continuity. They know what works, and you can just pencil them, or in this case, put it in pen that they're going to win a lot of games each and every year. And I think that's the case with Cincinnati. Now, do they win that game? I don't know. I mean, that's an intriguing game to me. KJ Jefferson, does he take a step forward? Does he take a step backward? I don't know. But I mean, at times he looked brilliant, and at other times not so much. So much is going to depend on that. I mean, I think a lot of people look at Arkansas and they say, when is the other shoe going to drop for Sam Pittman? Like, it's a great story, and Sam is an extremely likable guy. But at what point does Arkansas take a step backward? And obviously for Gamecock fans in week 2, they hope they're part of that demise for Arkansas in year 3 of the Pittman era. But no, look, I think that's a very, very close matchup. I think even without Ritter and without some DBs that they lost to the NFL, it's still a program that just knows how to win, and they'll be a good matchup.
Talked about Arkansas maybe catching lightning in a bottle with Sam Pittman, at least to now, much the way Clemson has with Dabo Swinney. Is Scott Frost a perfect example of how hard it really is to hire a quality head coach, or is he just in a bad situation in Nebraska?
I think Scott Frost and Tom Herman are classic cases of you just don't know what you don't know. Like if there were 2 more slam dunk hires in the last 30 years, I don't know who they were. I mean, everybody was convinced that those 2 guys were the best thing since sliced bread. And then you add the alma mater factor when it comes to Scott Frost. It just seemed too big to fail. And in both cases, it failed. So I always say this when the hires are made and people immediately think, what's a good hire? What's a bad hire? What an AD, he doesn't know how to make a good hire, a bad hire. There's a level of Vegas in every hire. There's a level of you at the craps table rolling the dice and hoping you come up with the right number, but you just don't know. And so we've seen this too many times now where hires that look so good on paper and it's a home run, quote unquote, home run hire, and you win the press conference and then you mess the bed. And that's what happened in Tom Herman's case, and that's what's going on right now in Lincoln.
Think with you being at Kentucky Saturday, any chance that we'll see a mud wrestling event between Stoops and Calipari, maybe at halftime, maybe in the pregame? They can settle their differences in front of all their beloved fans.
I think it says a lot to what you did in your youth that you would think of mud wrestling, Phil. This is not a time. This is not a time for what you were doing at bachelor parties back in the '80s. It's a family show. No, I think that storyline has kind of fizzled out. Honestly, I mean, Cal apologized. It's not like they're feuding. It's not like they're taking pot shots at one another. Cal put his foot in his mouth. Stoops jumped on it. Cal apologized. It's done. Everybody moves on. They're both successful coaches who both want to win. They're not trying to hurt each other. They both want each other to do well. It only helps. You know this. I mean, if you got a great football team, that helps your basketball program. If you got a great basketball program, it helps your football program. When you send football recruits in for a visit, how many times you take them to a basketball game and vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, it's a mutual interest there. You want everybody to do well, but no, I think that's kind of fizzled out.
All right, sir. Well, have fun in Lexington. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll have a much better idea of what to expect because we will have seen teams actually play. The babies will have been born, and we'll know what we've got out there.
No doubt about it. Hey, stay away from those mud wrestling matches, all right? You're getting too old for that.
Here's mud in your eye. Mud in your eye, man. All right, thank you very much, Mike Morgan. Thanks, on Mike. The move here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Gibson Insurance. Appreciate him visiting with us tonight. A lot of football tonight, and we got football tomorrow night. Let's see what we got going on here. Andrew Miller, the Post and Courier, is in beautiful Bowie's Creek, North Carolina, for the Citadel and Campbell. And, Citadel needs to get off to a good start this season and open with a W. And let's see, they were down 14-3. looking for an update. Down 14-3.
That's where it is with about 5 minutes left. Actually,
Yeah.
with 2.5 minutes to go. Citadel has a grand total of 5 yards passing. Not a big surprise, but yeah.
Yeah. They need to pick it up. When we come back, we'll talk about the Erskine Flying Fleet for 2022. They open up Saturday at home against Fort Lauderdale University. Coach and players coming up.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107. The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden is set to deliver a speech to the nation about what he sees as extremist threats to American democracy. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The White House insists that the president's speech will be optimistic.
He will speak about how he believes we can get through this current moment.
And even though Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the speech's theme is bigger than one person or one political party, the White House focus continues to be on Trump supporters in the GOP. Greg Clugston, the White House.
House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy is accusing the president of trying to disparage hardworking Americans. GOP Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz is under fire from Democrats for an audio recording in which he likens abortion to murder. Bob Agnew reports.
During a teletown hall in May, Dr. Oz repeated his pro-life views that human life begins at conception. Oz campaign spokesperson Brittany Yannick notes that Dr. Oz supports exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Quote, quite the contrast from John Fetterman, who supports abortion up until the moment of birth, referring to Oz's competition in the November election. Oz's comments come as many states drawing new battle lines on abortion after the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade earlier this year. Bob Agnew reporting.
A federal judge has appeared to give a boost to former President Trump's hopes for appointing an outside legal expert to review government records seized by the FBI. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon questioned the Justice Department's arguments that Trump couldn't make the request and that it would needlessly delay its investigation. But she did not rule on the request Thursday, saying she would do so later. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was up by 145 points. The Nasdaq dropped 31, the S&P 500 advancing 12, oil down to 86.61 a barrel. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Borrowing money to buy a house is getting more expensive. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
Mortgage rates are higher now than they've been in 2 months. A 30-year mortgage is now almost 5.7%, says Freddie Mac. A year ago, it was 2.8%. 15-year fixed-rate mortgages, popular among homeowners looking to refinance, jumped to 4.9%. The once red-hot housing sector has cooled considerably, with many potential home buyers getting pushed out of the market as higher interest rates have added hundreds of dollars to monthly mortgage payments. I'm Rita Foley.
Brian Robinson Jr. will miss at least the Washington Commanders' first 4 games of the NFL season after being shot during an attempted robbery of his car last weekend. The team put the rookie running back on the non-football injury list today. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some clouds roll in this evening. We'll drop to 72 as our low. Tomorrow, a few more clouds, but a nice day. A high of 89, not too much humidity. There's a 20% chance we get an afternoon downpour. For Saturday, afternoon showers are likely, hopefully clearing out by Carolina game time, a kickoff temp in the upper 70s. I'm Kevin Cohn with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, back we are. It's the Palmetto Pigskin Tour. It's our final stop of 2022. We have crisscrossed the states, and we have found the prettiest spot in South Carolina, right? Little old due west, South Carolina. We still don't know what it's due west of. Have you figured it out, Coach Shap Boyd?
No, sir.
Since you've been here?
No, sir.
Have you asked that question many times?
I've asked it a few times, but you'd be surprised some of the some of the responses. But
and I imagine when you tell families outside the state, well, where is Erskine? It's in due west, South Carolina, and they go due west of whatever. But anyway, it's great to see you again.
Good seeing you.
We have been here every year for you that we could come from the day that you weren't even able to play a game because you were just practicing. You just had gotten this thing off the ground.
Yep.
And now you're going into what will be your, third real season?
This will be the third season, yes.
Yeah, and working around COVID and all that kind of stuff. And you had a spring practice, and now you're kind of back on normal footing when it comes to a football schedule. How's it feel to be able to go through everything the right way?
It felt good. Last year, I guess, was the first year to do that, and it feels really good. But this year actually will be the truly first year because last year we ended up playing the previous spring. So this year, we didn't play in the spring. We got to practice like, real spring football and had a little spring game and enjoyed that. And our kids enjoyed the weight room a little bit more than what they've been doing. And so it's been good, been really good.
What sort of things as you prepare for your opener on Saturday? And of course, this is game week for you guys. So you're past camp. You've been game prepping, but in camp, offensively and defensively, what were some of your major concerns that you focused on?
Well, essentially, offensively, we've had quite a bit of change. So you've got defensive. You have a coordinator change, and so essentially, last year we were warming up tempo, and I think that's still part of the plan, but it's not necessarily the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are hopefully going to be a little more well-rounded as far as the distribution of the ball and things like that. So, I think offensively, I think it's going to. I think overall, I think it's going to be actually much more. There's going to be a lot more there than what we've been doing. It became very one-dimensional.
Yeah,
and hopefully we're evolving from there. Defensively, we're just trying. I mean, we returned some kids up front, and we need to. It's going to be interesting to see if those guys step up and perform like you would expect them to. You would expect. We have a lot of kids that have been in the program, and they are now going to be some of them juniors, some of them seniors, and it's going to be awesome to kind of watch those kids play and just kind of see how, because they've grown up with us in the program. They're not. We haven't done this thing with the portal. We haven't done this thing with transfers. We basically have done this with high school kids, and that's the plan to this point, and we're not really deviating from that. So looking forward to it.
I know when you first started, one of the things you talked about was physical football. You wanted to run the football. You wanted to be a, kind of grounded and pounded kind of team.
We haven't been that yet.
Okay. Have you not done that? Or is that still what you want to be?
I mean, I still would. I want us to be physical, and ultimately, I don't know how you can throw the ball over the parking lot and be physical. So, from an offensive perspective, yes. I mean, we want to become more physical. Now, we just, we haven't matched up front, and that's been the issue. And when you don't match up front, it's kind of hard to pound the ball and do some of those things because ultimately you're outmatched. As we grow and as we develop this program, we should be trending more in that direction where we can, hopefully get to where we can run the ball and be a little bit different than what last year we were kind of forced to be a little more one-dimensional. And, again, that's not the plan. Ultimately, we're going to have to adjust and as we get into this thing and see, joining the new conference and all that stuff. So there's going to be some things that we'll have to consider and we'll have to adjust as we go.
What's going on at your quarterback position?
You've got two guys that have been in the program. One's been here since the inception, Bryce Jeffcoat, and then you've got Corey Bessie, who is a person that's been here. He came in, I guess it was last year, maybe the year before. I can't even remember. But he was not one of the original guys, whereas Bryce Jeffcoat was one of the original guys. So, we've got two kids that are a little bit older that Jeffcoat's actually played, some ball for us. And so those two are kind of battling it out right now. And there's others in the wings, but those two are the guys that have been the main, returners that are kind of in the loop right now.
Do you know who'll take that first snap on Saturday?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. We've talked about it. I know they're both going to be playing.
Yeah.
They're both going to be playing. So I as far as who's going to act, I don't know if they're going to flip a coin to see or what they're doing, but I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would say the guy. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. So, that's cool. Keep the opponent in the dark as long as possible.
Well, they're not any more in the dark than we are about them because they basically have changed their whole staff and their whole team, and so we don't know what they're doing either. So,
how about defensively? What do you like on that side?
Defensively, again, we're going to have some talented kids again that have grown up in the program. We've got some defensive linemen that have been in the program. You're going to be talking to one of them, and we've got and really, I'm trying to think. All those kids legitimately have grown up in the program, so I'm really looking forward to watching those guys play. We have depth. It's not. We literally, for the first time, probably the first time since we've been here, we've got somebody can go out and get some water, and the guy going in isn't going to be a big drop off from and that's the big thing with us as a more of a young program versus some of the older programs is we just don't have the depth at some of the positions maybe that some of the other guys have, and that's not an area where we're going to be falling off a bunch, I don't think. So I think we have some competent kids there. It'll be interesting to see if any of them really kind of thrive or set themselves apart. But right now there's a good nucleus there. And
where do you think you are now? We talked about you're still in your infancy, but do you feel like you're on target time wise and where you want to be at this stage, or did COVID set you back and it's basically a restart this year since you had your first true spring and now you're having your really first true fall?
I don't think you ever going to progress as fast as a coach would want to progress. As far as a coach is concerned, it's never fast enough.
Yeah.
I think we are progressing. I think we're trending in the right direction. But I also know we're stepping up our schedule each from the spring to the fall again. So sometimes the measuring stick is kind of hard to figure out what you're using as a measuring stick. I certainly, if you watched us play from the spring and then you saw us play again in the fall, for the most part, you knew it was a different team. You knew it was a more mature team. Now, a more mature team, you're playing 3 months later.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you had a chance to grow a lot or anything, but the experience from the spring certainly helped those guys. So, I think we're trending in the right direction. Like I said, would I love it to be a little faster? Yeah. But ultimately, if we're doing it the way we're trying to do it, if we're not wholesaling it through the JUCOs and the portal and all that stuff, like some people actually are, the process is going to take some time. And, we're living with a lot of young kids. So young players right now have to come in and be, in prominent positions, whether it's on offense, defense, and whether they're competing for actual starting positions or at least getting into the two deep. And we have that virtually every year here right now, which makes everything we do in practice interesting every day.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of young cats running around out there.
And it's got to be important for you to have retention If you're not going to dive into JUCO and dive into the portal, then and you want to develop players, they've got to stay. They've got to be committed, and they've got to stay.
True.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that's part of the process. And some of the young kids will, and some of the young kids won't. And that's just been the way it's been. And ultimately, we hope that we can trend in a direction that we're starting to retain more, that they'll see value in what we have to offer here, which is an opportunity to compete in a program that we feel like is on the upswing, and then educationally to get the quality education that Erskine can provide. So we feel like we've got a lot to offer here, and whether we can make sure that, or whether we can convince the kids that you know of the same thing, because ultimately now the deal's changed. So now you recruit the kids, now you got them here, and guess what? You got to re-recruit them to keep them.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just a different game. You know, it used to be
a lot of poaching going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
poaching.
just, you know, whatever. Don't even get me started on that. That'd be another whole radio show.
Well, I mean, we were at Dabo Sweeney earlier today, and he made the comment that to him, he was talking about NIL and transfer portal. To him, the biggest issue going on is tampering with transfers, because I imagine what he's thinking is schools are tampering with players before they enter the portal, because when they enter the portal, he said players already know where they're going. So how do they know where they're going unless somebody's already talking to them before they enter the portal? So I imagine you're probably sensing some of the same stuff. I would imagine.
Well, I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you. You know, Dabo's recruiting 2-3 year classes out in the distance. We're trying to handle, you know, next year at a time. We're not quite where he is. So you know, but yeah, no, again, I probably just need to be quiet on that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You know, facility-wise, you've got your football building up and operational with the weight room and some meeting rooms and training room and all of that. And I know that was important to you to have that done right adjacent to your practice field. What's next in the planning stage, you know, that you want the brick and mortar going up?
Well, you know, we have what we need to build, to run a program. We're going to the next thing is going to be to put down some field turf fields, which the campus needs. You know, all of our different sports programs needs. That'll be, I think, the next big project that will take place, and I think it will be multiple. It'll be a couple fields that will essentially allow all the different athletic teams to be able to use them, and then in ongoing in the process, there's talks and there's at least meetings and at least, you know, trying to figure out, you know, a future stadium on the campus and where that might be. And we've got builders and we've got people that are kind of, you know, planning and kind of looking at the feasibility of where things could be and how they might look. And I've seen some very nice drawings and some things that, you know, when we start moving in that direction and we have the right, you know, people supporting it, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be really nice. Really nice.
Need some of those big money fleet supporters out there to step up and write some checks, huh? Let's go. Put some pen to paper there and get this thing rolling.
Well, we certainly it will certainly require some funding for those things to take place, no doubt.
All right, before we let you go, you do have your opener Saturday in Greenwood. I know you're hoping a big crowd turns out. What are, besides the obvious, you know, don't turn it over, don't make mistakes, don't have penalties, you know, what sort of things do you need to do to beat Fort Lauderdale?
We need to execute. I mean, from a defensive perspective, we need to essentially make sure we're getting people to the ball. Just kind of a relentless pursuit. I mean, there's nothing really secret about what we're trying to do. I think we have enough cats that can run around a little bit. So if we can do what we're supposed to do, you know, and I told our kids tonight, it's more about us. It's not about who we're playing. It's always more about us. Even when we're playing the good people, it's still about us, because if we're taking care of our business, then I think we can hang around and stay in some of those games. You know, from an offensive perspective, you know, they need to have some continuity and they need to be able to move the ball. Not necessarily score, but move the ball. You know, have some success moving the ball, having some drives, and letting those guys kind of gain some confidence, because last year it became one-dimensional because you had essentially a receiver that was receiving, you know, a lot of your touches.
Sure.
And right now, I think you got 4 or 5 different people that are going to share that load, which to me is much. I mean, it's harder to defend 5 people than it is to defend 1.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think from that perspective, spreading the wealth is going to make them more, multidimensional as opposed to, where they were kind of singular last year. So, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing them kind of spread their wings. And again, with the new coordinator, new offensive line coach, I mean, you've got a new running back coach. I mean, it's kind of going to be a new show over there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they evolve.
We're looking forward too. Good luck to you on Saturday, and good luck throughout the season. Hope it goes well, and we'll be keeping in touch and following you guys, and talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for being here.
Our pleasure. Thank you for coming over. Coach Shap Boyd, head coach of the Flying Fleet of Erskine, and after the break, we'll be joined by a pair of his players, Carter Vest, defensive end from Wren, and Rashad Lucky, running back from St. Joseph's. They'll be with us after the break. At halftime, Citadel is trailing Campbell 17-3, and Furman has taken an early 7-0 lead on North Greenville over at Paladin Stadium. And we'll be back after the break.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty, certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
It all builds up to this at Darlington Raceway.
If you're going to kick off the playoffs,
Good stop, guys.
why not do it big?
Green flag is up.
Like Labor Day weekend big.
Get in your car here. That's how you make a move.
Like Southern 500 big. The only thing bigger than the action would be the experience of seeing it live. And that
I got into the wall.
might just be too tough to take.
Bring it home, bring it home.
NASCAR Playoffs weekend at Darlington Raceway, September 3rd through the 4th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams, and you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. The Palmetto Pigskin Tour wraps up our final interviews right now for 2022 Palmetto Pigskin Tour stop at Erskine College. Erskine playing on Saturday against Fort Lauderdale University over at Babb Stadium in Greenwood. So get out and support the Flying Fleet. We have a couple of the Flying Fleeters here with us. I just like saying Flying Fleeters. I don't know if they actually call them that. I just like to call them Flying Fleeters. And we have Carter Vest, defensive end from Wren, and Rashad Lucky, running back from St. Joseph's. Great to have you guys with us. Rashad, first of all, the running game, about 90 yards per game last year. I know Coach wants more out of the running game. What do you think in practice that you guys taking from practice to the game on Saturday? You think you'll have better production there?
Oh, I know for a fact that we will. Coach got the O-line blocking like crazy, so we trust them boys, so I think we'll.
Are they bigger, stronger, faster?
Yeah, most definitely.
How about for you now? What does that mean for you?
That means a lot of yards on my side, I guess. But just follow behind them and trust them.
Yeah, they're going to put the ball in your hands?
Yes, sir. Hope so.
Yeah. What about what's happening at quarterback and getting the ball to you or getting the ball to some of the other skill position guys? How are you seeing the offense develop from that standpoint? Because I know they threw the ball pretty well last year.
Yeah. From practice standpoint, I mean, we look pretty balanced. So I think it'll translate over to the game. So we'll be running the ball quite a bit and throwing the ball quite a bit. Just move the ball down the field and score points.
Mm-hmm. Carter, what about from a defensive standpoint? What have you seen in practice that you like that you'll carry to that field on Saturday?
I'm just liking, our experience that we have now. For me, comparatively 2 years ago to now, it's a completely different team. I mean, our entire defensive line has grown up in this program. We're all about to graduate and leave. So, I mean, we're bigger, we're stronger, and most importantly, we know what we're doing now. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to watch this.
I mean, that's important. I mean, I think age is important on a football team. The guys that have been together for several years, I think that pays off when you reach that point of maybe you're, in your case, third or fourth year together.
Absolutely. Coach Boyd always tells us, he'd say, the best thing about freshmen is they eventually become sophomores.
Yeah.
But we eventually became seniors. So definitely, I mean, we know each other now. We trust each other a lot more than we had before.
Yeah. What's it like to, when you think about it, to be that first group to come through in a brand new program, kind of establish the program, kind of build that foundation so that one day when you come back, you can say, I can help get that started.
And that's what really drew me to Erskine originally, was that idea of getting to start something. I mean, I can always come back and be like, man, I remember, when there's no field house, we were carrying our pads to practice and to class and all that. And to see where it is now with the field house and just the coaching staff's evolved and changed and all the new guys coming in, it is special. And I'm glad that I got to be part of that originally.
Yeah. How about for you, Rashad, seeing the development of the program and how things have grown and where it might go from here?
Yeah, I came the year after Carter came. So, I mean, we were still kind of in the middle of developing, the team we have now.
Yeah.
It was rough for me, honestly. I'm not going to lie. Practice was long. It was hot out there. I wasn't used to it. But once I got used to it, I started to love it. And It felt like home.
You guys played a lot of football, as a lot of Division II FCS teams did, because of COVID. You didn't have that fall season. You played in the spring, and then you turned around and played another fall season. Rashad, did that eventually take its toll on you guys last season? Were you pretty worn down as you got into October and November?
Most definitely,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
What did it feel like to you?
That spring season, it kind of killed me. I didn't play in the fall.
Mhm.
I was red-shirted, but I'm pretty sure the guys that did, they were tired. They tell me
Well, I'll
all the
ask
time
Carter.
they're tired.
Were you tired?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we played 6 or 7 games in the spring, come play a full 11 with no bye week. I mean, I've never played that much football in my life. And it was definitely rough, not just mentally, but, I mean, physically playing that much football is rough. So to have.
So how much fresher do you feel this year going into this season after getting on kind of a normal calendar for football practice and all that?
I mean, I feel like a completely different man now. I mean, we not only just because we had the weight room. I mean, I feel stronger and bigger, and I love that. And then having the summer off to fully recover and coming into fall camp. I mean, I don't feel like any aches or pains right now comparatively to last year. I mean, you were just dragging yourself out there every game.
Rashad, what's going to make you a special running back for the Flying Fleet this year? What do you think you'll give to that offense? You can brag about yourself a little bit.
I don't really like to harp on myself too much.
Well, ask Carter. Talk about Rashad. What you have to tackle him?
I'll tell you, I'd never want to tackle Rashad. I'm glad we only thud up. We never actually go to the ground because that's a scary man coming through the hole. I'll talk about him. He lost a bunch of weight. Now he's a lot faster and a lot scarier than he ever has been.
Yeah. You hit the hole quick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What did you weigh before?
I was 260.
Were you a lineman?
You could say that.
He was a lineman with DB speed.
So were you fast at 260?
Yes, sir.
Really? And you got the weight. What do you weigh now?
230.
That's pretty good. So what do you hope to do? What would be a good year for you carrying the football?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really have any personal stats that I want to reach. I just want to win football games.
But doesn't every running back want 1,000 yards?
Oh yeah, 1,000 yards would be great.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'll take wins over 1,000 yards.
Yeah. I
Any
get that.
day.
Carter, what about for you, defensive end? What makes you stand out? I mean, are you a guy that rushes the quarterback, gets sacks, or are you better in space, dropping back in coverage? How do they use you?
I like to think of myself as like a pass rushing in. I mean, anyone's watching the live stream right now can see I'm not physically very large.
Mhm.
So I try to pride myself on being quick around the ball and really just playing fundamental football. So like, man on key, hitting the guy that I'm supposed to hit and not blowing plays I'm supposed to make.
Being where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the key. Guys, we thank you very much. I know you're glad the season's here. You're not hitting each other or thudding each other. Now you can actually hit somebody. Release all that built up, anger that you got and ready to go. Thank you so much. Have a great season. Stay healthy. We'll be watching you guys, and hope it goes well for you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all very much for coming over. All right, Carter Vest and Rashad Lucky from here at Erskine. We're back in a moment.
Is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Some clouds roll in this evening. We'll drop to 72 as our low. Tomorrow, a few more clouds, but a nice day. A high of 89. Not too much humidity. There's a 20% chance we get an afternoon downpour. For Saturday, afternoon showers are likely, hopefully clearing out by Carolina game time. A kickoff temp in the upper 70s. I'm Kevin Cohn with your On Point local weather.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting local law enforcement agencies from suburban Southern California to rural North Carolina have been using an obscure cell phone tracking tool, at times without search warrants, that empowers them to follow people's movements months back in time. Public records and internal emails obtained by the Associated Press show police have used the database known as Fog Reveal to search hundreds of billions of records drawn from 250 million devices. A federal judge has appeared to give a boost to former President Trump's hopes for appointing an outside legal expert to review government records seized by the FBI. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon questioned the Justice Department's arguments that Trump couldn't make the request and that it would needlessly delay its investigation. On Wall Street, the Dow by 145 points. More details at srnnews.com.
I'm already a big fan of Medicare Blueprint. Tim and his team saved me several $1,000s. They took a look at my health insurance. They helped me get the best possible plan. But not long ago, I reached out when we had a crisis. The big bad insurance company out of nowhere just canceled mom's medicine for her multiple sclerosis. No warning, 30 years, same med, and just like that, gone. Here's the good news. Medicare Blueprint doesn't work for the insurance companies. They work for you. They're local. Imagine me trying to get this fixed, calling some national toll-free number. Outsourced operators never talk to the same person twice. Medicare Blueprint went to work, helped me get mom's meds back, and how's this? Even less expensively than we were paying before. Incredible customer service and local. What a great formula. Oh, and it cost me nothing for their services. Nothing. Whether you're on Medicare or not, my mom is, I'm not, Medicare Blueprint help both of us. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398. That's 708-7398.
The most dangerous appliance in the house is the clothes dryer. There's no bigger fire hazard than a dryer not working properly. I'm Patrick with Dryer Vent Wizard in Lexington. Is your dryer taking more than one cycle to dry clothes? It's more than cleaning out a lint trap. Dryer Vent Wizard helps with fire prevention, avoiding mold and mildew, saving energy, which saves dollars and extends the life of your dryer and even your clothes. Dryer vents are all we do. Online, it's LexingtonDryerVentWizard.com or call us today, 693-5357. That's 693-5357.
This is Roger Metz, host of Woods and Water, South Carolina. We often hear shop local. Well, deer hunters, you can do just that at Verdon's Farm and Garden Center in Lawrence, South Carolina.
Do you need a new deer stand, trail camera, or mineral block? They have all that and more.
Need seed? Plant their widely sold Verdon's Wildlife Mix, a 10-seed blend, or maybe just grab a couple of bags of oats.
They have shelled corn all year long and bring in cob corn during deer season.
Deer hunters, you can get all this and more at Verdon's Farm and Garden Center on Highway 221 in Lawrence, South Carolina, just a few miles off the interstate.
So shop local at Verdon's, and please tell them that Woods and Water SC sent you.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer. That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Back we are on Sports Talk from Erskine College, our final stop on the Palmetto Pigskin Tour for 2022. Back in the studios tomorrow for the first time, and gosh, it's been a couple of weeks, and we'll get everything in order and ready for the football weekend, the football Friday night. Right now, we've got football going on up in Greenville, and Furman has taken a 14-0 lead on North Greenville. Callie Chiswick, an interception return for a touchdown for Furman. So they're up 14-0 over North Greenville. And Citadel trailing at Campbell, 17-3, Chris. Bulldogs not showing much offense. I don't know if I'm surprised. I mean, they usually move the ball against anybody on their level, on their schedule, having a hard time against Campbell.
Well, I'm looking at the stats, Phil, and they've been able to run the ball pretty much at will. They already have 150 yards rushing through the first half, 8 first downs to 10 for Campbell, but just have not been able to slow them down defensively. And no turnovers, though the Citadel, how about this? Citadel has fumbled it 3 times, but recovered all 3. So a little sloppy for the Bulldogs, and Campbell certainly, it appears, has taken advantage of the opportunities, even though, and this may actually play in Citadel's advantage moving into the second half, because I'm assuming, Buies Creek is not that far away from us. Hot, humid nights. They possessed the ball the first 30 minutes of the game. They held it for 23 of those 30 minutes.
Wow.
But they're down 17-3. So
and those turnovers, well, not turnovers, but just fumbling sets you back.
Mm-hmm.
They might have something going, and they fumbled away. Some other football tonight, and we don't get a chance to mention a lot of scores often, but we got games tonight. Tennessee's taking a 10-0 lead on Ball State first quarter. Bryant over FIU 9-0 first quarter. St. Francis of PA 13-10 over Akron. Oklahoma State, Central Michigan 7-7 late first quarter. Toledo and Long Island University Post, they are scoreless. How did they find Long Island University Post? You got to go really digging. UCF has taken a 14-0 lead on South Carolina State, and that's with 4:17 to go in the opening quarter. Pittsburgh, West Virginia, scoreless late in the first quarter. VMI and Wake Forest just underway in Winston, and that is it for now for the games. You got games going on tonight. Let's see. We got some West Coast games. We got Portland State, San Jose State. That'll kick off at 10:30. Cal Poly and Fresno State will kick off at 10:30 if you want to be up late and watch some college football later
Penn
on
State,
tonight.
Purdue, what should be a pretty good game in about a half an hour.
Okay, that should be a good ball game. All right, let's see. Will and the Thrill normally with us this year at this time. It looks like the Thrill got the memo and the Will did not. We do have Carl Hill, former Gamecock star, defensive end, with us here on the program, and we're trying to get Will Merritt with us as well to pair the two. If not, we will just go with the Thrill tonight. So let's welcome in Carl, the Thrill Hill, to Sports Talk once again. Good to have you with us, sir. How are you?
Welcome home, baby. I'm doing great. Can't wait for this season to start, sir. It's going to be a good day.
Well, are you influenced by what you know, or are you influenced by what you've been reading and hearing?
See, I'm not influenced at all by what I've been reading and hearing. I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to that stuff because you're getting information secondhand. No one is able to watch practice. No one's able to see scrimmages. So I've been able to watch practices. I've gone to both scrimmages, went to both spring scrimmages. So I'm going based on what I've seen.
Well, tell us what you've seen. Spill the beans, baby. Spill the beans.
After the second scrimmage, I'm going to tell you what, here's what I've seen. I've seen growth. I've seen growth from the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be a really good part of our team this year. I think our linemen last year, we were kind of looking for those guys with the name recognition and talking about going into the league to be really successful for us and put some sacks on the board. And we didn't get a whole lot of stats, but because of the way they were playing, I think this year the stats we were looking for, rushing the passer, tackling the quarterback, getting sacked, tackles for a loss, I think we're going to get all the things we were looking for. Those guys are extremely nasty, and they're playing really hard. I think our secondary is probably, in my opinion, I think it's the strength of our defense. See, Miller, my friend Corey, thinks it's the defensive line, but those guys remind me so much of my playing days. They run to the ball. They're excited about playing. And I think defensively, I think we're going to be do really well there. Offensively, I just look over there, man, you got so much talent that you got to figure out what to do with. There's talent. We got with the running backs, the receivers, running backs. They got to get Juju on. And I saw him last spring, and Coach said all year, we got to get this kid the ball. We really got to get him the ball. The receivers are playing. They're catching balls. It looked like from even this spring, the best scrimmage they had was the second scrimmage. The first scrimmage they had this year was so much better than that one. And this scrimmage they had this year looked like they're ready to play football. We got a lot of talent on offense, man. And we got too much talent on this football team not to have some success.
Tell me about the quarterback in your eyes.
He gets the ball out of his hands really, really, really fast. He throws an extremely, extremely nice deep ball. He does everything that you want a quarterback to do. If there's a reservation, it goes back to his days in Oklahoma that got him benched, or sometimes he'll throw a pass and the coach is like, what were you throwing that pass? So he's trying not to make those mistakes. So he's sometimes a little hesitant getting the ball out of his hand. But it's rare, and it's a whole lot better. It's night and day from the spring. When he came in the first spring practice, I saw, and I'm like, is that him for real? And now you look at him right now, and you're like, holy crap, we're going to have some fun.
Carl, Phil, and I have kicked this around for 3 weeks now because we've tried to fill time to get to where we are today. But going back to your playing days, did you as a player have an idea of how good your team was before the season began? Did the coaches have an idea? Because reason I asked that, without the ability to play another team, an exhibition like the NFL has, or even at the high school level, none of us has an idea, I don't think, as to what to expect on Saturday. So how did you gauge your teams going into game one of your particular seasons?
The only thing you do is kind of like, it's like tennis. The only thing you do is practice, get your game better, and then you kind of go to the casinos and throw the chips on the table. You have no clue about what someone else is going to do. It's all about you, what we're going to do, and who we're trying to be. And then you think you're good enough to play, but then you have to kind of play until you kind of get into some football games and like, oh, we're pretty good. Then the story tells, once you read a couple of chapters, you kind of know where the story's going, if you're good or not. You don't really know unless you're one of the elite teams in the beginning of the year.
All right, so you talked about the offense from eyeballing scrimmages and practices. What about the defense? And what about Jordan Birch? Is he stepping up to be what people thought he would be coming out of high school, or just what there?
See, I think last year the defensive line got a real bad rap as not being productive, and it was 100% because of the style of play they were playing. When we lost Sherrod Green early in the season, and we had to put Staley in at that position, Staley is a great player, a good hole filler. He does a lot of things extremely good, but when you ask him to lead the defense and make the plays, you was asking that kid to do too much. So at that point, the defensive line could not create holes by going upfield. They were pretty much being taught to play the line of scrimmage. That's different this year. We're not being taught to play the line of scrimmage. We're taught as a defensive line to get upfield. So once you can, because they trust the linebacker group, they have so much more now, and that they have depth there now. So the style of play is what's going to make those guys great. I just think we couldn't see what we wanted to see last year 100% because they were 100% holding the line of scrimmage. They were not taught to get upfield. That was not what they go. That was not what the coaches wanted. They were doing what they were told to do last year. And this year, the style of play is so much different. You're going to see almost. I can tell you, those are guys on that defensive line. Almost every one of them. That's going to be a really good group of guys this year. You're going to get a lot of production out of those guys. What we were looking for last year, especially from the defensive ends. They're so talented and so fast, and they're getting taught different ways to get to the quarterback. I'm like I told Teddy, I think this could be kind of like a special year, like the '84 season was. And I don't mean win 10 games. I think if we have a special year this year, if you think about where we are in the East right now, if we win five conference games, we're number 2 in the East. That's a special season.
That would be a major step up, no question about it.
Yes.
Okay, Thrill, we appreciate you being with us. Sorry you went solo tonight. We'll get the kinks worked out and have Will with us next Thursday night so you two can bat it around a little bit. But have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the football, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely, but when you've been scoring 40 points for so many years, and then you get down in the 22, it's hard to show your face around. But we'll get to him in a little while.
You think he's concerned? You think he's
Thanks,
worried?
Carl.
You think he's worried,
Hey,
Carl?
He better be worried. Look at everybody thinking about Clemson and what kind of team they're going to be. With losing the defensive coordinator, losing the offensive coordinator, you got a quarterback that doesn't have the weapons that Sammy Watkins had. That
Deshaun.
What's the kid?
Trevor.
Deshaun or Trevor. You don't have any of those receivers going in the first round. You don't have any of that. You don't have any of that on that team. Where are you going to pick up the points? They were averaging 24 points last year. If they got better, what are they going to get to 28? They don't have the talent. They don't have an offensive line to open up the holes. It's going to be kind of interesting what type of season they have, especially when you got to make a play in the middle of the game and the coach get ready to, what kind of play adjustment are you going to make? Are you small enough to do what the last guy did? I don't think so. He was super. He was great. Since he's gone, I can give him all those accolades.
So you're picking the Gamecocks. You're picking the Gamecocks to win in November. Is that what you're saying?
Oh man, I'm looking forward to that one because their offenses won't score more than their average 28, 30 points. Their talent allows them to score 28 to 30 points a game in their league. So I'm kind of looking forward to that game, absolutely, because we're going to be scoring the same.
Okay. All right, Thrill. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
All right.
Carl, the Thrill Hill, throwing it out there and daring Will Merritt to respond. Maybe we'll get Will on tomorrow night. He did call us last night, but I told him Thursday, and I apologize because everything's been sort of in motion this week with the travel and the in-person interviews and trying to get everything worked in. So we'll get that squared away. Of course, hey, look, we haven't faced live bullets either. We haven't been in live competition either. So, this is our exhibition week. We're getting the kinks worked out as well. Let's hit
Before
the break.
we go to break real quick, Phil, I want our listeners and you guys as well during the break, you have to see what South Carolina State tried to pull off against Central Florida. I'm not sure I've ever seen an illegal forward punt. I'll just leave it at that. You've got to go find the video. Central Florida, SC State. I'm not sure that's in Buddy Pugh's playbook, but
an
it's
illegal
interesting.
forward. Did he cross the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, it was almost a fake punt.
Yeah.
And then once it crossed the line of scrimmage, he punted it down inside the 10-yard line.
And it's an illegal forward punt. Yeah,
I assume so.
That.
I'm not sure I've never seen that before.
I could see that. All right, we got to hit the break. We got to drop in recruiting. We've got an interview with NASCAR driver Chad Briscoe that Chris did today. So we got that coming to you here in just a moment. Tennessee now leading Ball State by a score of 17-0. So they're going to roll there. Furman having their way with North Greenville at this point. And the Citadel still trailing at Campbell and turned it over on their first possession of the second half. Not going well for the Bulldogs right now. We're back in a moment.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Gibson Insurance. Former Gamecock player Bo Mobley and former coach Stuart Lake want you on their team for all your insurance needs. Now, cost-effective solutions is what they're all about for the now and for the long term. They're licensed with every insurance company in the state. They've got offices in Columbia, Greenville, and Sumter. But if you're listening right now, let me direct you to call Bo and Stu today at 803-605-0029. That's 803-605-0029. Let my good friends take great care of you.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Let's give you some recruiting brought to you by Seawells. Don't forget the Seawells Luncheon Buffet tomorrow from 11 to 2. It'll be outstanding. And I'm hoping it's a roast beef Friday. If it is, everybody go and enjoy. Real quick, Pat, do you know if it's a roast beef Friday, yes or no?
Yes, roast beef along with southern fried chicken and fried flounder.
Sounds good. And the best in catering business, Seawells at 803-771-7385. Online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. We checked in on defensive end to Marion Parker, 6'4", 250. Phoenix City, Alabama. Clemson involved. Going to take an official for the Syracuse weekend, October 22nd. They've been talking to him for a while. Now they've picked it up with Nick Eason, Dabo Sweeney, and Lemansky Hall all involved talking to him, enjoying talking to them, likes what he's hearing from them. They've been calling, they've been texting, et cetera, and he's got a strong relationship at the school through former players from his high school. Justin Ross, E.J. Williams, Ray Thornton, Caleb Nix were all former Central High Red Devils, so that's a connection for Clemson as well. Also plans to take an official to Tennessee. Georgia and Florida are the other two in the mix. Remember, he was once committed to Penn State, and after he decommitted, that's when it took back off for Clemson. 78 tackles, 15 sacks last season. Does not look like Clemson is going to do much with David Hobbs, defensive end out of Concord, North Carolina. He said he's not heard from the Tigers in a few weeks. Not really looking their way at this point. He took officials to Auburn and North Carolina in June. He's got Tennessee October 22nd, Georgia November 4th, and Alabama November 25th. He's going to the Georgia-Oregon game this weekend. He might go to Penn State for a game as well. And some players tweeting out that they'll be at USC Saturday night. 2024 long snapper Charlie Ingram, Vestavia Hills, Alabama. 24 corner Tyler Jackson of Jacksonville. 24 offensive lineman Mason Wade of Purcellville, Virginia. And 25 athlete Kobe McGill of Waxhaw, North Carolina. That's recruiting. And now let's go racing at Darlington with Chad Briscoe, Chris.
Actually, Chase. Well, we
Chase,
may go with Chad, but yeah, Chase got a chance to catch up with him. And Phil, I don't necessarily have a favorite NASCAR driver. I'm leaning towards this guy's way. He's really interesting character. Had a chance to chat with him a bit earlier today about qualifying for his first ever trip through the playoffs, and sort of kicked off the discussion asking him about his race win at Phoenix, which punched his ticket, but also was a historical win. He became the 200th Cup Series winner in NASCAR history. So Chase had that to say. Talk about that and much more when we called up with him a bit earlier today. Here's Chase Briscoe.
Going back to that day, it seems like forever ago now. We won so early in the season. We've had a long time to think about the playoffs. And, really we've been talking about them forever. And it's crazy that they're finally here. But, yeah, that day was super special. Your whole life you're just trying to get to the Cup Series. And then to be a winner in the Cup Series is just super special. You know, all the work, effort you put in, and then to find out that you were the 200th winner. It was just a super cool day, and then obviously to qualify for the playoffs as well. So, yeah, definitely glad that we were able to lock in the playoffs, and glad that to be one of 200 on anything is a pretty cool list to be on. So, yeah, looking forward to the playoffs starting this weekend at Darlington. It's one of my favorite racetracks. Just glad, like I said, the playoffs are finally here because we've been talking about it for a long time with how early we won the season, and now they're finally here.
How easy has it been for you to work with Stewart-Haas Racing, considering that Tony Stewart is from your home state of Indiana, and much like you, Tony enjoys basically driving anything with four wheels?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely a dream situation. Tony was my hero growing up, and when I started the journey of trying to be in NASCAR in 2016, if I could have picked any car to drive, it would have been the 14 car. And now to be in that 14 car, driving for my hero, we just have a lot of similarities. Me and Tony do. We grew up 45 minutes apart from each other. We both grew up racing sprint cars. We still both race sprint cars. I feel like Tony kind of sees a little bit of himself in me. We just have a lot of things that were a lot alike. So, yeah, definitely cool, to get that 14 car though back in the playoffs where it belongs, and just looking forward to hopefully making Tony proud. And just a dream situation for me though, for sure.
Chase Briscoe, the driver of the number 14 for Stewart-Haas Racing, gearing up for the playoffs to debut this weekend at Darlington, joining us here on Sports Talk. And Chase, obviously Sunday marks your playoff debut in the Cup Series. Have you tried, if possible, to approach this week like any other during the regular season, or is there somewhat a sense of anxiety for you knowing what's on the line starting this weekend?
Yeah, I think, until I get there, it's going to be hard to say what it's going to feel like, but I definitely think that the intensity, just being in the other series, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, being a part of their playoffs, the intensity definitely increases whenever the playoffs start. So I think for me, I know the Cup Series is going to be even more intense than either of those two series. And, it's one thing to kind of know what to expect going into it, but for me, being my first time, I don't really know what to expect. I know what I think it's going to be like, but until I get there, I really don't know. But I think for sure it's going to be more intense than anything I've ever experienced. Especially with how cutthroat it is this year, and just how competitive everybody is. I think it's going to be probably the most competitive playoff field we've ever had. So hopefully we can go there and just have a good day and limit mistakes. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for our team, and specifically is just not eliminate ourselves. And that's what we'll try to do whenever we start at Darlington, which is going to be an easy race to eliminate yourself. The Southern 500 is mentally probably the hardest race of the year. Physically, it's extremely hard. You're just on the ragged edge for 500 miles. So hopefully we can go there and make 500 clean miles and not make any mistakes.
Well, you do have some success in your hip pocket at Darlington, winning back in 2020 as part of the Xfinity Series. I realize they're different cars, but does that experience maybe help you a little bit in your fourth start this weekend to the Cup Series at Darlington?
Yeah, I think so a little bit, especially at Darlington. I feel like that's one of those racetracks where some guys just kind of adapt to it, and other guys, hate going there. But for me, I've always loved going to Darlington. It's one of my favorite racetracks. It's really slick. It's wore out. It's just a challenge from a driver's seat. So, yeah, I think, guys that enjoy going there and embrace it, and I've had success there. I feel like, that success kind of carries over whatever type of race car you're in there, just because the track is so unique to itself. So, yeah, I'm excited. I think the opening round of the playoffs, from a racetrack standpoint, is all really good tracks for me, and I'm glad we're starting at Darlington because I do think it's a really good track for me personally, and hopefully we can take advantage of that.
If you've heard it once, and I know we've heard it in the media 1,000 times, you race the track at Darlington, not the competition. So from a driver's perspective, is that an accurate statement? And if so, has it been made easier, or is it more difficult now with the next-gen car?
Yeah, it's definitely an accurate statement. Even my crew chief, we were just having our competition meetings on Tuesday and kind of reiterate the same thing. We're going to go there and literally just race the racetrack, because that's a place where when you start racing the cars around you, you start making mistakes, and you normally end up in the wall or you burn your tires up or something like that. So you honestly just go out there and race the racetrack. I mean, that's a track where our tires will get so torn up just because of how abrasive the racetrack is. I mean, we're changed 3 seconds in a course of 40 laps in lap time. So you just have to really race the racetrack there because it's constantly changing. Every lap you're doing something different behind the wheel there. So for sure, you got to go there and race the racetrack. And the next gen car, I think it makes it even tougher because we don't have a huge understanding of how this car still drives. It's still relatively new to all of us. So trying to learn as fast as we can, as much as we can in a really short amount of time.
Okay, Chase Briscoe talking to our own Chris Bergen, one of the drivers in the playoffs beginning on Sunday at Darlington. We'll be there. Chris will be there. I'll be there, and looking forward to watching the racing at Darlington. Going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a great weekend. High school football, of course, tomorrow night across the state. More college football tonight, tomorrow night. Then the big shows on Saturday. Looking forward to being over at USC Saturday night for the Gamecocks and Georgia State. The race on Sunday. Then in Atlanta on Monday for Clemson, Georgia Tech. So it's going to be a busy weekend. Back in the studio tomorrow night. Chris, you'll be on location where?
Over at West Florence. My only home game, so to speak, of the season as Socastee comes up here to play the Knights tomorrow.
Oh, you can take your moped over there.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to carry a ton of equipment, I would.
Hey, thanks to the folks at Erskine. Appreciate the help. Thanks to all the schools that hosted us for the Pigskin Tour. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.